Hey, Riddle here. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you're a subscriber. I'm going to take you on a big think today. Big think. And hopefully it will challenge your current belief system and make your life more action-based, because it's really important to get out of your head. Often, we're physical beings. We were born into a three-dimensional reality. Well, our senses it's all we can, accurately pick up. Most people is the three-dimensional form. So let's just go with that one. I know some people will argue there's more to it than that, and I believe that, but we're going to stick with the basics because most people exist in the basic. The majority of what we can understand and process is three-dimensional. So, and of course, one-dimensional and two-dimensional. So the topic of today's video is the coronavirus. So when the pandemic happened, I always found it, fascinating. You always have people who, out of fear and lack of power, automatically go to the conspiracy theory realm, which is really sad, and it kind of shows where our society has failed its people in regards to both security and education. I'm not highly educated, but that never stopped me from using my phone for more than just entertainment and communicating. Meaning, if I don't understand a vocabulary word, I look it up and learn it. And the phone is an amazing piece of technology that you can consistently be self-developing. But most people just use it to further dumb themselves down and distract themselves. So, coronavirus, when people were freaking out, and I had close friends that got sucked into the conspiracy theory thing, and even friends that were trained in medicine. So it got really weird really fast. But what I initially, did was, you look to history, you look to personal experience, you look to science. Those are the three first places that a person should look to for answers. So given that, the Spanish flu and the history of the Spanish flu was really all I needed, and other pandemics, to convince me that it happens and it was kind of overdue for it to happen again. And it's not going to be the last pandemic or plague that humanity sees, especially because the earth is changing so rapidly. Why is not important, though I think the majority of scientists have a pretty firm understanding of why the earth is changing so dramatically. But you're seeing places that have been frozen for millions of years, and they are thawing now. And there's tons of all kinds of diabolical bacteria and viruses hidden in all of that ice. And so it's going to be a very interesting future for the planet. And not just humans. There's going to be a lot of species that are going to suddenly be in competition with organisms that they never encountered before. So that's scientific. That's the easy one. But now I want to take it to a different place. And I am as guilty of this as anyone else. But what brought us to this place? How many of you know people that have become incredibly misanthropic, incredibly judgmental, and antisocial? People love to say now, it's almost become acceptable and common to say that you hate people, or you hate these people, or you hate those people, but a general blanket of just not wanting to socialize and not liking people. People prefer often dogs, and the relationship that humans are starting to have with animals is strange because it's not real. Yes, it's unconditional love, of course. Yes, they're magnificent beings, but the thing is, you, just like problem solving, you're never going to develop, you're not going to grow emotionally if you're not challenged by other people. Do you understand what I mean? It's pretty obvious if you took a human and you locked them away and they never met another person, and then suddenly you release them, into society. You can imagine how frightening and what a mess that would be, because they would have absolutely no skills. So when we remove ourselves from the problem solving, which also can be applied to human relationships and interacting with people, it's the same thing. The less we interact and the less that we learn to compromise and learn boundaries and blah, 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 blah with other human beings like a tribe, the more ill-equipped we're going to be for empathy and negotiating and dealing with our fellow humans. And that is not a luxury we have, because there's just more and more of us showing up on this planet every day, and the world is becoming a smaller and smaller and a smaller space, as you know. That being said, that's all science, that's all tangible. But this is where I'm going to challenge you. The coronavirus. So if you follow science fiction, everybody knows that science fiction almost always becomes science fact eventually. If we watch the old Star Trek from the 60s, and they had their communication devices, and at the time, they were magical, but now everyone has one. Everyone has one. They're working on laser technology. They're working on, amazing genetics to literally change our genetics, and cloning, and I mean, what we're going to see as science and computers escalate just in the next 20 years is going to be beyond our wildest dreams. And it's basically the power of the human mind manifesting into a 3D physical reality. That's all it is. So, if we can use our minds to create art, which means people don't understand the power of art. The power of art, it's a unique form of human intelligence, because you're literally forming an idea in this little computer, and then bringing it through your body and bringing it to life in a three-dimensional reality, into a three-dimensional form. And this is incredibly powerful and pretty much unique to only our species. So when you look at science fiction, same thing. They're taking these ideas, abstract ideas, they're adding them together and creating them so they have continuity and they make sense, bringing them from their imagination, their mind, into writing, where they can communicate and share that with other humans. So why is it so crazy to think that with all of our self-hatred, with all of our intolerance, with all of us hating each other so much, and I travel a lot, and I used to love to travel, but the last 4 or 5 years, everywhere I went, they wanted your money, but they didn't want you. They didn't want the tourists. And I'm not judging them. We all have our own reasons. One of the reasons is there's just too many travelers now, with the growing middle classes around the world that didn't exist before. And these communities are just overwhelmed. And I really, really felt this in Italy. I didn't enjoy myself in Italy. I had this idea of what incredible people they were, and what the food was going to be, and what the culture was going to be. And when I got there, I was just really disappointed with how nasty they were. This is northern Italy. We never made it to southern Italy, but we went to quite a few cities. And regardless if they were tourist traps or not, we did go to some smaller cities too. I just found them to be incredibly unwelcoming. They wanted the money, but they sure as hell didn't want you there. And I'm a graceful traveler. I don't try to talk loud English at people. I'm not pushy and demanding. I'm not entitled. I, in general, learn enough of the language to be polite and find the bathroom. I study up about their cultural norms and traditions so I don't embarrass myself or disgrace anybody that I'm traveling with. And I don't, offend anybody wherever I'm traveling to. So it's not that. It was just this global misanthropy that humanity is experiencing. And the reason I'm bringing this up is if everybody wants to marry their dog because suddenly humans suck so much, and everywhere you go, people just want your cash, but they're really sick of humans, why isn't it possible that we did not, as a collective, manifest the coronavirus? That we didn't manifest a pandemic just out of pure negative energy, just out of pure hatred, So that being said, if you follow horoscope stuff or not, you never know. It's just kind of silly, but we're supposed to be on the dawn of this new age, this age of Aquarius. And you can listen to that lovely, corny old song, The Age of Aquarius by the Fifth Dimension. And they, they talk about how we're going to come to this new awareness and be more loving and more caring and more understanding. So that being said, what did we learn from the coronavirus? What did we learn about not being able to hang out with each other or speak to each other or just do those basic things? What did we learn from forced isolation? What did we learn about interconnection? What did we learn about how much we truly need each other? And how, regardless, if people don't always act according to how we need them to or how we feel they should, how much we missed them, how much we missed being able to go to public places and not put the camera on us, not have to have a mask on, and all that stuff. So my point is, eventually the coronavirus is going to end. And are we going to go back to being the same assholes that we were before? Are we going to go back to these people hating, isolating, only sticking in our little cliques with our small ideas? Or did we learn something from this? Are we going to, change our hearts and not be so soul sick and so judgmental? Did we learn the lesson? Because the coronavirus had so much to teach us as individuals about our vulnerabilities and our strengths, but also as a society. As a society, what did we learn as a society about being prepared, about science, about working together as a team? And, those of us that refuse to follow the basics to protect each other, those are prime examples of some of the worst case scenario of what I'm talking about. And that's it. That's what my video is about. Are you thinking about what you've learned through this pandemic? Have you processed the more important lessons and not used it just as a selfish template of self-victimization? Are you owning what you've experienced and owning what you've learned from this pandemic on both a financial level, on a physical level, and on an emotional level, and more importantly, on a spiritual level? Because there's a huge realm of spirituality that exists outside the confines and the structure of the mass religions. And the lovely thing about spirituality is that's the common denominator between all human beings and possibly all animals and plants on the planet too, because it recognizes us all as one and there's nothing that separates us. All right. Thank you for listening to my video. If you have any interesting thoughts or comments, please put them below. I really do love to communicate with people. And if you enjoy my YouTube channel, please like and share and subscribe. It helps. And take care of yourselves, and please take care of each other, because I believe how we treat each other on the streets is our ultimate reality. Bye for now.